you ever caught yourself saying, no worries? Well, I'm Steph.
And I'm Steph, and we have some worries. Hi, everyone. I'm Steph with an F.
And I'm Steph with a PH, and welcome back to Some Worries, the podcast brought to you by two anxious bitches.
Hang out with us while we chat about all things bodies. In today's episode, body check.
That's right, we're doing a body check, checking in. Hey guys, this is Steph with a PH. How's it going? I'm just editing our video for YouTube and realized Steph and I spent this whole episode talking about our bodies, but we never described our bodies for those who might be listening audio only. So apologies. This message is for you. Just so that you have some context for what Steph and I will talk about in this episode, because we do jump into our relationship to our bodies, body image, things like that. We would both describe ourselves as mid-sized. I like to think of myself personally as like a reliable mid-sized car. Not the smallest model on the lot, not the largest, but, you know, gets the job done. Steph is, I believe, 5'3". I'm 5'1" and 3/4. So we're both kind of on the shorter side. And yeah, that's roughly kind of what we look like. Hopefully that will be helpful context to you as you listen. But if you're curious in general with what we look like, feel free to jump over to YouTube and watch us there. All right, let's go back into the episode. So before we launch into our conversation about our bodies, which is a huge topic that we will only scratch the surface of today, I'm sure.
Yes.
I thought it might be a good idea for us to talk a little bit about language, because there's a lot of terms that people throw around when they talk about
Mhm.
bodies. There's terms like body positivity, body acceptance,
Neutrality.
neutrality. Yes, there's all of these words that kind of get thrown into the conversation. So,
Mhm.
Steph, I'm curious, like, what types of terminology do you prefer when talking about your relationship to your body? Are there any that you hate? Like, where do you stand?
Well, today's episode is going to be interesting because I'm kind of going through it with my body.
Mm,
So be prepared for that if you're tuning in. I personally do not like body positivity because it's a it's your body, and I don't feel positive. Like I don't know. Does that make any sense?
yeah, no, totally. Yeah.
Um I'm shooting for, through my current journey, neutrality, body
Yeah.
neutrality. So that's kind of the language that I'm using for myself. What about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty similar. I think like body positivity, I feel like for me it's been a bit of a journey, because there was a period of my life where I thought, yeah, body positivity. I'm going to be positive about my body. And then when you do that for a while, you kind of realize you're setting yourself up for sometimes an even deeper fall. And as you said, like, our bodies are our bodies. They're just like these meat sacks that we roll around in and day out. And I feel like having more of a body neutrality point of view, it feels healthier for me. It feels more aligned with reality.
Hmm.
It means that I don't have to go through every single day loving every part of my body. It sort of allows for those moments when you're maybe just not feeling it as much. And that's okay, because you're aiming for that neutrality of just like acceptance of being embodied and all of
Yeah.
the challenges that come with it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'm very similar to you in that regard.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point about body positivity is we're going on a journey. Like,
Mm,
I think, we talk about mental health on this podcast. Mental health is a journey of ups and downs. I think if you get into a position of body positivity, your point about like that could lead to a bigger fall is very true, and has happened to me as well. So
yeah.
I think, since I am proof that body neutrality, body views, whatever, is a journey.
Hmm.
And yeah, so that's why body positivity doesn't work for me. So it sounds like we are the same.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page. And I love what you said about connecting this to the conversation on mental health, because you're right. I think anybody who's working on themselves in sort of a mental health capacity, whether they're dealing with anxiety, depression, or some other aspect of their mental health, there is an understanding at a certain point in your journey, because you may be trying to reach for, I want to be happy all the time. But then as you work on that, you realize, wait, no, my relationship to this has to be it has to be more realistic, and it has to be open to those ups and those downs and accepting like the full range of human experience. So yeah, I think like that's such a great thing to tie that body conversation into sort of the mental health space, because I think it's a similar way of looking at the world that I think is helpful rather than
Mm-hmm.
potentially harmful for people.
Right.
And I did want to ask you, Steph. So we're talking about bodies today. And look,
Indeed.
I don't know if you know this, but you don't have any hair. So what do you want to talk about
What? Oh
that?
my God.
Yeah,
No
I
one
don't know.
ever told me.
I know. I wanted to be the one to tell you as your
Well,
friend.
thank you for telling me. I had no idea.
Yep, yep.
I love you for that. So if you are just listening in, I think I've mentioned this in like every single episode so far, but I don't have hair. I have alopecia, which is a autoimmune disorder where I will boil it down to what my doctor told me when I was like 5 years old and I could only understand like simple medical things. Essentially, there is something inside of me that thinks that my hair is a disease and it's bad for me, so it makes it fall out. It is obviously more complicated than that, but that's a good, simple description. And I've had it my entire life. I have had hair, I don't know, like 3 or 4 times.
Oh, interesting.
Um, yeah, so when I was a kid, like I don't know, 5, 6, I had bright red hair. If you are watching, you can tell, I think my complexion is very much redhead. I
Mm-hmm.
have very pale skin, the freckles, the green eyes. I'm a redhead.
Yeah.
Um, it fell out. Then it came back again. I don't know, 11, 12, 11, 12 maybe, fell out again. The last time I had, and I'm using air quotes, a full head of hair because it's never been like a full, like thick head of hair,
Mm.
was in high school.
Hmm.
I think about 10th grade is the last time. And again, I say full head of hair because like my fucking hairline started like way back here. If you're only listening in, I had like legitimately like a 9 head.
It's
Like
like that
it
whole
was
Elizabethan style, like Shakespearean times, like Queen Elizabeth had like they all shaved their hair like back to that point. Yeah.
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 Yeah, so it was that. It fell out again. And that's the last time I've had like a full head of hair.
Mm.
Um, so obviously that's been a journey for me. When I was younger, I wore wigs. I have a wonderful horror story of being in, I think, 6th grade, wearing a wig, and someone shoved me by accident in the hallway
Oh,
and it just fell off.
oh no.
Which I can laugh about now because
Yeah,
that is fucking hilarious. But at the time, obviously, it sucked.
that would have
But
been
it wasn't
devastating.
fun. It wasn't, it obviously it wasn't fun. But my teacher, so nice and thoughtful, but stupid, had my entire class sign a card for me that was like, "We love you. It's okay." Blah, blah. It's like, okay, but all you did was other me more.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like I have, okay, here we go. I
Yeah.
can talk about this forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
No,
don't
hit
have
me with it.
cancer.
Mm,
I want to say that.
mhm.
If I had $1 for every time someone asked me if I had cancer, I would be filthy fucking rich. And I'm not joking.
Yeah, I
I
believe
grew
it.
up most of my life, like most of my younger life in Mississippi. And I don't want to shit talk Mississippi too much, but they're very godly
Mm,
people.
mhm,
So I
mhm,
had a lot of people that were like, God will heal you. Can I pray for you? Things
mm,
like that.
mhm.
Um, which I mean, it fucked me up growing up, obviously. Like I said, I wore wigs for a while. I wore hats when I was in late high school and the first couple years of college, I wore a hat. And thinking back on it, I'm just like, why did I waste my time? Like,
Mm,
people fucking knew. I'm wearing a hat with
mhm,
no hair poking out from under it. Like, people knew. But it
mhm.
was like a comfort thing. Like, you know how
Yeah,
people have like a comfort blanket.
of
I used
course.
to have
Yeah.
to like make sure it reached a certain part on the back of my neck.
Mhm.
Which anxiety.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
Um,
that old thing.
and it was a long journey of accepting that. And I was in this was after my junior year of college. I cannot believe I waited that long, but it had happened when it had to happen, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I had been getting more comfortable with it and woke up one day and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And went out and did it. And it wasn't fun either. Had a lot of stares, a lot
Mm.
of pointing, a lot of looks of disgust, which is really
Oh my
fun.
God.
Way more questions of cancer
Mm-hmm.
after people could see the no hair. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, and yeah, and it was a long journey. And I could talk about this for like 3 episodes, so
Yeah.
I'll stop. But
Yeah.
I will say at this point in time, like I like it. I actually, to your point earlier about shaving,
Mm-hmm.
so my hair does grow in certain parts. So if you are only listening, I am sorry, but it's like I would have if I let it grow out, it would be like a misshapen high ponytail in the back of my head, but there would be no hair on the sides. And that would look fucking stupid.
You'd
So
look
I
like those old
actually
samurai paintings,
it's
like
literally that's what it would be like. Because
yes.
like it doesn't start till here. It
Mhm.
doesn't it there's none here. It is in the back, but not really in the back until pretty high up. It's ridiculous. So I actually do shave it and
Mhm.
I like it a lot better. I mean, and now I'm comfortable enough where I can like joke, like, I don't,
Mhm.
honestly, it's better. Sorry, not sorry, but I don't have to buy shampoo or
Yeah.
brushes or go get haircuts or any of that stupid shit. So I'm
Mhm.
saving money.
You are. You were saving money. You like this is the ultimate like anti-capitalism. I'm gonna save my money and I'm gonna like fight the man,
Yeah.
Just I feel like you're doing it. You're living that
Yeah.
life.
I will say, so like, maybe I know I'm talking a lot, so I
No, this
apologize.
I think this is a really important topic because I know
Yeah.
you've mentioned this, as you said in a few other episodes that we've had, and you've brought up the topic sort of so that folks are aware that it is alopecia. I think so that people don't go to our comment section and be like, oh my God, does she have cancer? Because as I know you
Because
you
people
hate that
would.
question.
Yeah. Just
um,
ask me why I don't have hair. That's a
yes,
better question.
it's a much better question.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that we're talking about this, and
Yeah.
I'm
I really
really.
want to help educate people on
Mm,
it because I obviously have dealt with a lot of ignorance around it. It's not a condition a lot of people know of.
mhm,
Um Growing up, I didn't see anyone. I didn't know anyone with it. I don't actually personally know anyone with it right now. There's people like Ayanna Presley and Jada Pinkett Smith and some actors and actresses and stuff that have it, but like I don't know them.
mhm,
So I want people to be able to, know me and ask questions. It's fine if you ask questions, just don't be a dick about it.
mhm. Yeah, be respectful.
Be
Yeah.
respectful. And
It's the same as
I
if
want to
like
help educate people,
yeah, absolutely. I think of it as like yeah, just being respectful of people. When you were talking about how growing up I understand that you probably get the cancer question a lot. That is sort of like and that was like when I first met you, that was one of the things where I felt like that was the question people were asking you, more often than not.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I shouldn't say I'm surprised by this because I'm not surprised, but it really like it kind of broke my heart when you said that people look at you with disgust as if like there is something wrong with you and like the idea that people need to pray over you because you
Yeah.
don't have
I've
hair.
had people ask me if they can catch it,
But ugh ah
which like I can laugh about now. Obviously, I wasn't laughing at the time,
no
but
no oh
yeah.
my God, yeah, it
People
just
suck, man.
that sucks.
Yeah.
So
And maybe
yeah.
we'll talk about it a little later in the episode, but the only way it really still affects me today is with online dating, which
Oh
sucks
God.
ass. And maybe we can
Yeah.
talk about that later when we talk
Hmm.
about where we're at. But
Yeah.
I know that you also deal with something that affects the way that you view your body.
Yeah, it's a little different. We're gonna travel. down the body a little bit into the digestive tract. So follow us on this journey.
All I
So
can imagine is like Mrs. Frizzle and
yeah, I
like
was
the
thinking the
magic
magic school
school
bus when I
bus.
said
Like,
that. Yeah, we're traveling. We're gonna go down the esophagus, and we're gonna go through the stomach, and then we're gonna go in the small intestine and the large intestine. Yeah. So something that I've really had to that's really tied to like my body image and my acceptance of my body. I've mentioned this, I think, in other episodes in passing that I have a digestive disorder, and I have what's called irritable bowel syndrome, which is like the literal worst name for anything, like irritable bowel syndrome. Could they have not come up with something cooler? But whatever. I guess I'm not in charge of the naming committee on this. Uh, Doctors call me if you want to change the name. But it's like for me, it manifests as and if like bathroom stuff annoys you, you might want to turn this off now because I much like Steph, I joke about this because it's something I've dealt with my whole life, and so I've even though it sucks and I don't enjoy the experience, I do joke about it. And so like
we'll
the
put up
best,
a little like time stamp. If you don't like bathroom things,
yes,
come back to us at
yeah,
this time.
at this time we'll put it in. But if you're hanging around for the ride, hey, for me the IBS really it's gone it's gone back and forth. When I was younger, I had a lot of constipation, bloating, distended belly, a lot of discomfort, and it would vacillate between that and just like shit in your pants diarrhea. Like it's there's no for me there's no balance, right? It's like I'm one or I'm the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gone through a whole rigmarole medically to figure out like things that help. I've tried like everything that's out there basically. I have an extremely limited diet at this point in time that I'm still tweaking to try to figure out how best to manage symptoms. I have like a whole care team that I talk with. Like it's a process. But particularly like where this ties in with body image is thinking about things like traditional body standards for women in the US. I'm going to say that specifically because I know body standards are different across different cultures, different countries, but really sort of like the ideal Western US body standard, especially when I was growing up, because there's a bit of a difference. Those who grew up in 90s, early 2000s, the standard was really thin, like rail thin.
Unhealthily thin.
Yes, like it really like not healthy for many people, like that level of thin. And what comes with that a lot of times is like the flat tummy, the flat stomach, the six pack. And I think many people still like strive for that if they are trying to like have quote the perfect body. And I think that I realized at a certain point in my life that wow, that is not ever going to be possible for me. And a lot of it's just because my colon hates me. I'm often bloated. I always joke that I kind of look pregnant all the time, even though I'm not. Like it's just like it's how my body is. And I do my best to help manage the symptoms and to feel as best I can, but it's always going to be there. And so I reached a point in time when I realized that, me trying to strive for like a perfect body, particularly when I was younger, like teens, early 20s, I was really setting myself up for eternal disappointment because my body it's not going to do what other people's bodies do because it's different. And I think that in particular helped me on my journey of sort of when we talked about the difference between say body positivity and body neutrality. For me it became really the body neutrality became really helpful and kind of therapeutic because then I could accept my body for where it is, and then I could focus instead of thinking about like can I get a six pack, or like can I have like perfectly chiseled legs and arms, and can I look like the perfect proportion of curvy that you're supposed to, instead of worrying about all of that and how to get that, I said, okay, I'm going to worry about being healthy and do that, and my body will take whatever shape it's going to take. And so for me, I kind of tried to take out the whole equation of like perfect body because I knew it was impossible. And I mean, are there things like, sure, maybe if I starved myself, which would be really hard because I still would have a lot of digestive issues if I just didn't eat. If I starved myself, if I was at the gym constantly, like maybe I could look like I'm going to be in the next Marvel film. Like maybe I could do that. Maybe my body would for a period of time. But the whole point is that that's not sustainable. And that's not a way that I want to live in my body. I don't want to punish my body. It goes through enough. So for me, it really was about accepting my body for where it is, for where it's going, and just learning to kind of be on that journey with it rather than fighting every step of the way to try to like make myself look different. Because at the end of the day, like health is really what matters. You know, I making sure that I'm getting movement into my body is something that I really care about. We've talked about this in relation to anxiety, of course, but it also matters a lot to me just because I like feeling that strength in my body. And I really like activities that help me be in my body in that way and help me to feel that strength because that more than anything really helps me feel better versus I look a certain way and now I feel good about it, you know? So that was a
Yeah, I'm
lot,
over
but
here like taking mental notes on everything that you just said because that is the journey that I need to be on. And it's so interesting because I was there
mm,
and now I'm not.
mm,
So like for my in terms of like my body other than my hair, I've had a journey there too. I was born in California, lived there for 9 years, and I was tiny. And then moved to Mississippi and didn't have as much movement as I was having in California because we live on like 10 acres of land in
mm,
Mississippi and I wasn't like near my neighbors where we could go bike riding and all of that kind of stuff. And so
mm,
I gained weight. I gained a lot of weight, like continuing to grow up. So I was heavier. And then when I went to Scotland, that's when I got all those fucking food allergies. And
mm-hmm. Yeah.
um so for everyone other than Steph who already knows this, I developed quite a few food allergies when I lived in Scotland, and it would affect my joints. And so I would hardly be able to walk some days. Going up and down the stairs was painful. I would wake up in the morning and my hands were like the claw, like
Oh.
stiff. I would the swelling would like go down at night for the most part, but then throughout the day, at the end of the day, like my legs were swollen. They were like the same size from my knee to my ankle, like just swollen and uncomfortable. And so I couldn't do a lot. Obviously, I felt like shit about my body.
Yeah, and probably
um,
just felt like shit also,
I
just
also just felt
pain
like shit
and
in general.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, and the doctors were like, they did scans for arthritis. There were no joint damage that they could
Mm,
see. So it was like, we don't really know. Then I worked at the Edinburgh International Book Festival for a month, which is set in like, it's not a square block, but it's like a square
mhm,
in Edinburgh. And I was walking from where I was staying to there, which was several miles. And then I was a front of house person. So I was walking authors, attendees all around the square. I mean, I was probably walking like 10 miles a day, if not more. And I
yeah.
had lost like 50 pounds in a month,
Wow.
um, which
That's kinda
helped,
yeah. That's kinda
obviously.
crazy to lose that much that quickly too. Like, that's
Yeah, I don't know. There was obviously some fucking medical shit
yeah, I was
going
gonna say, I feel
on.
like that's not maybe even healthy, but
It's
I
not,
mean,
it's not.
yeah.
I probably wasn't eating enough, and maybe
Mm.
that's what it was. I wasn't eating the things that I was allergic to.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe that helped, like, get some of the swelling down. Yeah.
Who knows? Then I moved home and I kept up the walking, and it was really starting to make my body feel better.
Mhm.
And then I eventually got into the gym because I had was hoping that that would help as well. And I started going to the gym pretty regularly, and that did help because I was building up the strength in those joints that were affected
Mhm.
by all of this.
Mhm.
Um, and it was making me feel strong and capable and all of those things to what you were saying about the gym. And I got to a good place despite the fact that I was still having issues. Eventually, I found out what the food allergies were after having them undiagnosed for, let's see, probably like a good 6 years of
Mm.
undiagnosed food allergies targeting my
Ugh,
joints,
yikes.
which got a lot better after I started cutting those foods out. I'm allergic to corn and soy. Those are the two main ones, which are in everything.
They are. I'm always like, hey, have you tried it? And then I'm like, no, wait, never mind. It's got corn in it. Never mind.
Fuck you, corn.
Fucking corn. It's in
Okay.
everything.
God. But my joints started getting better and I started lifting heavier at the gym and I started feeling really good about myself and was, despite like still having some extra weight that I, still hold, my body was feeling strong and capable and so much healthier than it was. But cue me a few years later taking that to the extreme. I think you remember this. I was going to the gym like 6 or 7 days a week,
Yeah, I remember. I was like,
just like
how? How is she
cuckoo for
doing
Cocoa
this?
Puffs. And I burnt myself out.
Yeah.
And I was getting burned out in multiple areas of my life, which was making me feel unhealthy overall.
Mm-hmm.
And I got this new job and I took a month off in Naperville, where I was living in Illinois,
Mm-hmm.
from the gym, because I had to cancel my membership. And then I took like a good month and a half in Seattle to find a gym and to get back into it. And I think because I burned myself out on the gym, I still don't quite have the same motivation. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going like 1 or 2 times a week, which is not good enough for me. And that is something
Mm.
I'm talking to my therapist about
Yeah.
because it should
Yeah.
be enough.
Yes.
But
Mm-hmm.
I think because I lost some of that strength and I gained some weight back, I'm in a not good place with my body again.
Mm.
And I'm trying to remind myself, like, remember how you were in 2012 when you couldn't even like squat, and now like you can squat like 100 pounds or more? Like, bitch, you're
Mhm.
fine.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
just the mental health thing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's all tied together. And so I'm really working on getting back to a part where I'm like, this is my body. It
Mm-hmm.
looks the way that it looks. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm not there right now. And
Yeah.
like, to anyone listening, Steph already knows this, but like we were recording shit for our trailer and I was like full on almost panic attacking because I hated filming myself and seeing the way that my body looks. So
Mm-hmm.
all of this to say, you're not alone.
Yeah. Yeah. I
We
mean,
go through journeys.
it's all a journey. We were talking about this before we started recording that, the relationship to the body is always evolving because, you go through periods of time where you feel kind of neutral. You can reach that state of like body neutrality and just like not thinking about your body all the time and actually living your life. And then there are other periods of time where you maybe have a different relationship to your body and maybe you're not where you want to be. And that is part of the journey as much as it is when you were talking about mental health, that up and down, the body up and down, it exists too. And I really love that I'm really proud of you for like sharing this too and talking about this today because both the alopecia thing.
We're gonna get off and I'm gonna go cry for 30
Yeah.
minutes, but I'm good right now.
Yeah, but I'm really proud of you because they're both talking about alopecia and helping to educate other people on how to navigate this. Like if you encounter somebody who doesn't have hair, how to handle it without you know being rude or without hurting that person. But also just talking about this place you're at with your body right now because I think there are probably a lot of people listening who are exactly where you're at right now, and Lord knows I will probably be exactly where you're at in a couple weeks. Who knows? It's always this up and down kind of relationship.
Hmm.
um, and it reminds me too, I was thinking a lot about when we talk about sort of the body journey. I can talk a little bit too about like where sort of my journey with my body throughout time,
Yeah.
because I've definitely been where you're at before. And as I said, I probably will be at another point in time. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Tell me, Steph.
Yeah.
Teach me your ways.
Oh, I don't know that I have it figured out, but I think a lot about so like when I was growing up, similar to what you were talking about, like when you were living in California, how you were very tiny. The interesting thing is I look at photos of myself when I was like 5, 6, 7, 8, not all the years really. I look at pictures of myself from them and I'm like, wow, I was thin. But the whole time I was growing up, I thought I was fat. So it's just like, it's this insidious message that I think young women are sort of taught that like the worst thing that you can be is fat. It doesn't matter if you're mean, it doesn't matter if like you to some degree whether or not you're successful in school, are you fat? Like whether or not you're fat or not is like the full determinant of how you will be treated by the people around you. And that just sucks because everybody's body is different. And I just remember feeling like I was fat. And it wasn't just that like I thought it. I remember having, teachers in like 5th grade, 6th grade when I hit puberty fully and like had my first period, started to like get an ass and boobs, like the thing that happens to all young women.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as that all started to happen and my body started to change, I remember like teachers being like, why don't you take up a sport? And like they thought they were being helpful, by encouraging me because I was very bookish and they knew that. But I
Mm-hmm.
was also very active at home. Like I rode my bike all the time. I loved rollerblading. Oh my God. I honestly want to get back into rollerblading. So if
You
anybody has
should.
tips, drop them in the comments.
I
Blades I
can
can
send,
get.
there's a TikTok girl who taught herself over the pandemic. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, send it to me after this. Because I loved it so much. So but I remember these people in my life that, and for me, teachers were like, I was very much a, straight A student and always got good grades and school was important to me. So when my teachers were saying things like, maybe you should do a sport, that shit sticks with you, even though they meant it in like
Because
a
they're placing
helpful.
value in like the way that you look,
Hmm.
despite you being a top student and all of those
Hmm.
things. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I look at the photos from that time and I'm like, I wasn't even that large. Like my body was not even that large. Like yes, I think it was during a period of time where my body was changing a lot. But like I'm sorry, that is just what happens to young people when their bodies are changing around puberty. Like you get really tall sometimes. Sometimes you'll like have a friend and you're like the same height and then you'll come back to school in the fall and they're like 3 inches taller than you and you're like how did that happen? Like these things just happen. And so I think a lot about like those old experiences of people sort of telling you that there was something wrong with your body, and then it's reinforced by media. And especially, I mean, I'm sure I have no doubt that the kids now have it rough. I'm not saying they don't, but I do remember a time when it was just the expectation was that people were so rail thin and like that was the standard. Because I look at pictures of myself when I was like in my teens and early 20s and I'm like I have an ass, right? And I'm just like, if I had grown up sort of in like the Kim Kardashian is the standard of beauty era, if I had grown up then, I would have had a very different experience than the experience that I actually had kind of growing up at the time when I did. So I think a lot about how hopefully hopefully people are evolving and changing and beginning to understand that bodies are different. They come in different sizes. The way I think of it is like, you know, you have green eyes. I honestly don't know what color my eyes are, bluish, greenish, something grayish. Some people have brown eyes, and those are all beautiful and they're all different. And like some people have dark skin, some people have light skin, some people have red hair. Like some people are really tall, some people are short. People have different body sizes. And like that's just the range of human variability to some degree. And I just feel like we try to make everybody look literally the same. And I'm like, why? That's boring and stupid and impossible. So I think like
That's
that's
why,
been.
like, I shoot, despite being like in a not happy place right now, like, I
Mhm,
overall shoot for neutrality or
mhm,
acceptance because to your point, like when we grew up, you had to look a certain way. The
mhm.
generation before that, a certain way. It's like every fucking decade,
Yeah.
every 5 years, sometimes there's a new way that you're supposed to look. And the majority of people do not look that way, but that's
Mhm,
what you're seeing online or in movies or in TV. I
mhm,
do really appreciate that, like, finally we're starting to get more body diversity in
mhm.
models in
Yes.
movies and TV because of those things. So, yeah, I think that's really important. And like another reason why I wanted to talk about alopecia too, because you
Mm-hmm.
just never see that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think it's important for us to talk about the way that we feel about our bodies and that it is always changing. And yeah, this was hard to talk about, but it's worthwhile. And,
Yeah.
I'm sure people listening, like you said, have gone through this, are going through this. So, you know, comment if you want to connect with us. Um, and I'm going to be really selfish for a second.
Okay. Okay.
So we
I'm
have,
ready.
if you've listened to a couple episodes, we have this semi-regular segment called the Anxious Bitches Club,
Mm-hmm.
ABC.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm selfishly adding this segment because I'm going to use it to ask you, who
Okay.
are in a much better place than me, when you're not feeling great about your body, what do you do that you find helps?
That's a good question. Um, I would say maybe the things that help me the most are more things that I've put into place when I'm feeling better. So the way that I describe it as is there's just certain rules I have for myself. So one is that I got rid of my scale. I don't know what I weigh. And I don't really care what I weigh. The only time I get weighed is if I go to the doctor and they're like,
Yeah.
they want me to get on the scale. Um, so for me, I think that is helpful in general. And that's one of those things that I feel like is hard to do if you're in the midst of feeling a certain way about your body. Parting with something like a scale is really hard for many people because they're
I don't give
tying
a
a lot of,
shit what the scale says. So
yeah,
that's good. At least you're
good.
there.
Yes, I'm glad you're with me on this. So like but if you're listening at home and you are just the kind of person who's weighing yourself multiple times a day or even every day, your body weighs different things at different times. Your body weight is just a measure of your relationship to Earth's gravity. Like just get rid of it. You don't fucking need it. Just
And
get
if
rid
you
of it.
have a uterus, it
Mm-hmm.
can change throughout the month as well.
Sure can. Sure
Yeah.
can. You'll drive yourself nuts trying to like get that number exactly in some place you want it. So get rid of it. And then I also just sort of, and this may be hard because some people, I think it's a journey. You have to get there. But I've told myself that as long as I am doing things that help me be healthy, I am not allowed to feel bad about my body. So what that actually turns into in real life is I still have days where I wake up and I'm getting dressed and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this outfit. I don't know how I feel about my body in this outfit. I will have those moments and then but I have taught myself to cut that immediately and be like, nope, we're not doing that. We're not going to have that conversation. Do I like this shirt? It has a beautiful pattern, it has beautiful color. I'm going to wear it today. And so I tried really hard to do some of those things that are sort of more in like a cognitive behavioral therapy space, if folks are familiar with what that is and have used it before.
Hmm.
It's just a way for you to be paying attention to your thoughts. And when they start veering into a territory that can make you spiral, can bring you to a negative place, you just say, I hear you, but we're not going to go there today. We're going to go here instead. So that is, I think, maybe the primary thing that I do. And again, this is one of those things that it's easier to set up when you're feeling like you're in a better place, but you can still practice it if you're not. So,
Hmm.
and that is going to be different for every person, like what that message is. For me, because of what I was talking about with my relationship to my body in terms of like chronic illness, for me, have identified health to whatever extent that I can reach it. That for me is the goal. So, I'm eating the way I need to eat so that I don't shit my pants. Great. Good job, Steph. I have been walking and getting some activity in my body. I've been doing yoga, I've been stretching. I can identify these things that I'm doing in my daily life that I know are supportive to my health and my journey. And that for me is sort of the trick to sort of undercutting the knee jerk brain reaction of like, I'm not happy with how I look right now or how I look in this outfit or whatever it might be. Um, so yeah, that's what I do. I don't know if it's helpful. I don't know if it would work for other people, but I found it incredibly useful as a little tool to keep in your back pocket.
It is helpful. It is. I was, as you were thinking, or as you were talking, I was thinking about um I think another part of my journey right now is um my therapist is pushing me to date and find a partner
Mm, yeah.
because I have every other part of my life right now is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows that I am someone who would like to find a partner.
Mm-hmm.
And in our current world and society, most of that happens online. And I fucking hate online dating because
Yeah.
people are dicks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because even though, like, I am fine with not looking the way a woman is supposed to look these days, and I'm using air quotes if you're just
Yeah.
listening
And
in.
I'm literally rolling my eyes as you're saying it.
Yeah. Um, People online don't always think that that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is affecting the way that I am viewing myself, which I hate.
Yeah.
I
But
hate.
that makes perfect sense to me, and that is unfortunately something am I can't help with because
I know
I look
you've
at
been
the
in a relationship for so long.
I know I have. And I mean, and that's part of I think for me like I'm in a relationship, you know, my partner is great like he is not the kind of person who is like obsessed with certain types of beauty standards. Like we are okay with each other's bodies as they change. Like we both have I think good relationships with that as a concept. Not all people do. And there's a lot of pressures to be a certain way in online dating. I look at the online dating space. For me, like it's such an alien foreign thing, and it terrifies me. I'm like, what a horrid place. You go like the place where you have the most number of trolls and horrible people that go online to shout their stupid ass opinions. That's where we're going to try to find lifelong meaningful partnerships. Like, ah, fuck, that sucks. So
Yeah.
I'm
And it can
sorry.
happen. I know
Of
people who have
course.
met
Mm-hmm.
their like spouses
Mm-hmm.
online dating,
Yeah.
but yeah,
It's a
so
cesspool you got to wade through though. It's
it
like you
is.
got to find the real people, the people who are real out there, and that is hard.
It sure is.
Ugh.
So feel free to drop dating tips, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, throw them in the comments. Let's get Steph a partner.
God. Well, thanks for tuning in today, and listening to us talk about our journeys. Don't forget that you can follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Some Worries Pod, and like and subscribe to the podcast if you related to today's episode. We would love for you to give us a like. I would like us to do body check part 2 sometime in the
Ooh,
future,
yes.
since journeys change. So if that's something that you would like to see, let us know. And until then, we have been Steph.
And Steph. And now we're off to hopefully not shit our pants. Let's go.
Let's go.